So we're here today with James Tanford.
Hi.
Our freelancer extraordinaire and also our token millennial who is on staff. And welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. This is fun.
Does it feel weird to be on film and...
A little bit. I feel special. I feel... It makes me feel like a big deal.
Oh,
and
good.
I'm happy about that.
I
Getting
think
interviewed.
it's fun. Yeah. Well, I just think it's there's no better talent or opinions to be had than the people who work right here with us, and we chat all the time during work. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just share what we chat about every day?
Absolutely.
So let's just talk about you a little bit and your background.
Great.
So you're back in Bloomington. You are a townie. You grew up here.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Went to Bloomington South. And then you went off to?
Oberlin College, and basically just outside of Cleveland.
Okay, and what made you decide to go there?
Well, I wanted to run track, and I was too slow to go to a big school. So I was looking at small schools. I wanted to be kind of close to home, and academics were important. But also I wanted to leave the state. So it kind of just made a huge list, and then we did some visits, and I read about them and kind of arbitrarily cut some out and then applied and saw where I got in. But Oberlin was great. My visit was awesome. You know, it's only 3,000 people, but the campus is pretty big, very creative and artsy environment, and that's kind of what I was looking for.
And you majored in?
Political science.
Okay. And you are here working with us as primarily you're hired as a writer. But it's not just writing that you do.
No, it's evolved way beyond that.
So let's go back, and we were trying to figure out how you ended up here at 80/20. So how did you find us? How did you end up in our office?
Google, actually. I graduated and was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I knew I wanted to write. So I Googled something along the lines of writing jobs Bloomington, and then just clicked on every single website that popped up in the search and sent some emails, and you guys responded almost immediately and interviewed. And I liked the old office was really cool. It had the spiral staircase going up, and it felt very professional, but also as a freelancer it gave me all the flexibility I wanted, and it's a perfect fit.
Good. And you've come a long way, and you learned a lot in working with us, because I've thrown a bunch of different new tasks at you, because we didn't have writing jobs or work for you all the time, but I thought, hey, I can get James to do that. And so we trained you on some stuff, and you've trained yourself and spent time. So share what you've been doing besides writing.
Besides writing, it's been a lot of like website optimization, so figuring out what keywords we need to have, prominent in the website. A little bit of design work, but mostly through WordPress, which I'm not even sure is real design work, but it counts. Lately, it's been mostly Google Ads and Google Analytics, so making the ads that pop up in Google search feeds and on those ads at the bottom of websites, and just kind of using my creative brain to try to figure out what keywords people will be searching, what's going to make them want to click on our ads, and then following the statistics and trying to make them as effective as possible.
Yes, and Google Ads are really important for us and our clients. And what have you learned about Google Ads since you started working on them?
A lot of people are on Google. A lot of people search weird things. Sometimes we'll get what am I allowed to say?
Whatever you want.
Well, I was targeting the keyword implants for one of our oral surgeon clients, and one of the things people searched that triggered an ad was, can a 77-year-old man get penile implants safely? And then clicked on our ad and browsed through our website. And through trial and error, you kind of figure out, okay, this word is too broad. People are searching penile implant and then scrolling through a dental website. So you kind of break it down from there and figure out, okay, I need to make this longer. I need to include this word. I need to, instead of just doing oral surgery, do specific, in quotes, so it's only if someone actually searches that exact phrase.
And then talk about the different kinds of Google ads that are out there. We don't have to do a whole dissertation, but just really quickly, because a lot of people just want the keywords, like I want to buy keywords through Google, but there's different ads that we're doing now.
Yeah, so generally speaking, search ads search and display are the big two.
And search are the words, just words. Just
yeah, when you type in buy jeans, cheap, blue, the things that pop up before the organic Google search that say ad on them that look like Google search queries, those are the search ads, and it just kind of pushes your website to the top of the page. And then display ads are the photo and text ads that show up on the side of websites like YouTube or, ESPN.
And they have a picture.
Yes, and they're very customizable. Google Ads makes it very easy to just plug in some photos and text options, and then it will resize them and reformat based on the website, which makes it way easier on our part because we don't actually have to design the ad itself. We just tell Google what we want, and they do it for us. And then there are also things like video ads, those 5-second or 30-second clips before YouTube videos. Shopping ads, so if you were typing in buy blue jeans, Bloomington or whatever, and then went to the shopping section of Google, it would function the same as the search ads and just kind of push your information to the top of the page.
And then tell them really quick about the robot ads that we've been testing. We're the Google robot where we put in a whole bunch of different descriptions and headlines.
Yeah, it's one of the really nice things about Google is that it's designed to work with people of all experience levels, essentially. So you can customize it and say, I want specific titles and photos in this location, or you can do like dynamic ads, which is what you're referencing, I think. And you basically just throw in like 30 different headlines, 10 different descriptions, and Google will continually run the ads with different combinations of phrases to figure out what actually is the most effective. And it takes out a lot of the guesswork on my part because, one of the ways you figure out which ads work and which ones don't is by making just, 5 or 6 of them and using like the same headlines but putting them in different places. So you can see, well, for some reason when we put Owen County State Bank first instead of second, the ad works better. And the dynamic campaigns do that for you.
And it tests it, essentially. It does a whole bunch of testing on its own. Cool. So we'll depart from Google Ads, which is a big part of your job right now. What are some other fun things that you've done here?
The fun thing for me, I think, has been writing scripts. It's been a while since we've had a client want that, but I remember specifically with one of our clients, they said, we want TV ads. And we were like, what do we want in them? And they were like, I don't know, just make a TV ad. And so you gave me free reign to just kind of follow my instincts and write whatever ads I thought would be, worth making.
Right.
And so I wrote...
They were actually video ads, weren't they?
Yeah.
Those ones?
Yeah, they were TV ads.
And Lucas worked on those.
And I've done some radio ones too, but the TV ad ones were different because, I was writing, I was going, oh my God, this is going to be on TV.
Yeah.
And I wrote probably 6 different versions with different plots, I guess. And it was I've done a lot of like creative writing on my own, but that was a different exercise because it wasn't, I had to hit specific beats, like we have to say this, and we have to say this, and we have to show this, and then figuring out, it was like a puzzle. It was like, okay, how do I can do whatever I want, but I have to cross through those checkpoints. How do I do that in a way that feels organic and still follows basic story structure, getting their attention and making it interesting while still
conversational.
Yeah, while still being an advertisement.
Right. Yeah. So what's the big difference between writing for us as a branding ad agency, those for ads, versus being a traditional like formal writer?
That's interesting. Some of it is there's not a lot of room for me to, like when I'm writing for myself, it's almost like a form of expression, I'm trying to say something beyond just two guys go to the store. There's something underlying that story. I'm trying to put emotion into it. And with these, it's more superficial, I guess, because it's just we're advertising our product. You have to say the product. And, there's still the creative aspect of getting someone's attention, but there's none of the underlying depth. And it's just like a different writing experience. And
well, you're constrained too by a timeline, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so much.
And it's more collaborative, obviously. Like when we made the TV ads, I wrote the script and then we sent it to our client and they made some edits and then we sent it, I gave it to you and you made some edits and then we gave it off to the director and the ad turned out completely differently than what I wrote. And I had to remind myself, like, this is not me with my artistic voice. This is me making an ad for the client and it's ultimately their call, whether they like it or...
It's their story.
Yeah. And so instead of kind of catering to my own narcissism, I suppose, it's listening to what they want and then trying to make a product that they like.
Right. And hopefully we do some great storytelling and keep the integrity of
I guess that's also one of the differences is that the ultimate point of the ads is very different, which is, does it work as an ad? If people watch it and maybe it's a beautifully shot ad and it's so much character development and there's heartbreak, but if no one buys the product, then it didn't work.
Right.
It's different, like it's less of an abstract goal and more, okay, we made this ad, does it function the way it's supposed to?
Yeah. Let's move on to your world as a millennial, growing up as a millennial. We have a lot of Gen Zers. I think you and Francoise are the only millennials here. So what does it mean to you to be a millennial? And I'm just curious, and there's lots of stereotypes and I guess myths about, I don't know, I guess myths that need to be debunked as well. What's your opinion on that?
Oh boy, there's a lot to unpack there. Let me think about this. Being a millennial to me, it feels like our generation is the driving force behind change, I suppose. And I think every generation when they're younger do, the Kent State protests in the 60s about the Vietnam War. Like, I think that's always true. But in the age of social media where it's become like a universal platform that people look to for information, that's also controlled by millennials, it's like we're starting to set the narrative of where we want the world to go. And there are lots of opinions, and the stuff you see on social media is not reflective of the entire world. But it's telling of our generation and the things we value.
So what do you, as a millennial, what do you value?
What do I value? Honesty, communication, effective communication. Listening, I think, is an important one. And I think one that, on the whole, our generation struggles with a little bit. Not to try to get political and, our generation, but I think that listening to other people's perspectives and communicating in honesty are very important, especially now when everything is being boiled down into a soundbite and there's less room, especially on social media, for real discourse.
Interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. So I'm going to get your thoughts on the stereotypes of millennials. Two of them are that they can be lazy and entitled. Those are things that are floating around out there in the mass media about millennials. How do you respond to that? Because those are pretty severe words and criticisms.
I mean, I think the answer to both is not necessary. Like, What was the second word? Entitled.
Entitled. That's a classic one, though. They're so entitled.
Yeah. And I think those are both often used when talking about like millennials in the workplace and like, oh, they don't listen to authority and they, want this thing to happen right now, but you have to work for it. And I don't think either of those are fair, especially with entitled. I think it's more like an impatience with what we see as a system that's not moving as quickly as we want, and pushing for things that we value and things that we need, and working hard to get those to happen.
So what would you like to see changed?
Oh boy. I'd like to see changed. I mean, I think there's, especially among millennials, this like, this is a hard question. I don't necessarily think that entitled or lazy, this is going to get to your question, I promise.
It's okay.
They're not necessarily fair adjectives, I don't think, but I do think there's a little bit of naivety, you know what I mean, among our generation, because we're young, and I'm guilty of this too, that like, well, I want a job that pays $60,000 a year and gives me the benefits I want. And it's like, that's most people's careers. I think patience is something that needs to be a part of the push for immediate change. And I think those things can go hand in hand, but I think patience is still something that needs to be emphasized.
Yeah,
and learn.
I agree with that, because I remember I don't consider myself a very patient person, but I'm a lot more patient now at the age I am, but I was very impatient when I was your age. So I don't think it's unique to millennials.
Yeah.
Maybe it comes out more with you guys, but I think that's a very honest and true thing for a lot of generations.
And I think part of it is simply millennials have a larger platform than ever to say what we think. And we basically control social media, and like that has become a huge platform for, sharing your opinions and your voice. And with that comes older generations going, ugh, they want this right now, but I had to work my whole life for it. And I think it's fair to say, you shouldn't have to work your whole life for it. You shouldn't struggle in a job in an environment you don't like for 30 years just to get some sense of stability and complacency. But I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, that there has to be, we're starting from the bottom of the totem pole. I'm working freelance and I'm able to make things work, but like I can't go buy a house, and
right.
I don't expect to. I'm like, that will take work and grinding and effort and training and a lot of failure. And I think, older generations can learn something from millennials, but I think millennials can learn something from older generations too about patience.
So you're talking about jobs. So what is your dream job? You're a freelancer now, but what would be your dream job?
Being able to write creatively in whatever form that takes, whether it be like a writer and performer, or writing for TV, or even, I guess, running my own, being a full-time ad script writer. I like that. It feels like it's the one time where I'm doing something where I go, I don't need any approval for this. I can just write what I'm thinking and make it go the way I want to. I have full creative control over the product and how it turns out. And when I write something that, I edit it 100 times and I rewrite it, and sometimes I throw it out and start over. But when it finishes, I look at it and think, well, that's exactly what I wanted to say. There are no hiccups. And finding a way to get paid to do that would be amazing, but I don't know how to do that. And
it's hard in the advertising because
what,
there's so many iterations.
What millennial doesn't think, oh, I want to be I want to be like Tom Cruise. I want to be a performer. I want to be an author. And it's like, oh, it probably won't happen. That's a big dream in an oversaturated field, but I'm young and...
Well, you do have some acting talent and some voiceover talent. You've been in our actual ads and on video, and you've been the voice for some of our radio ads. Do you like that?
I love it.
Because you're kind of a natural at it.
Thank you. It feels, when I do something like that, I think, well, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. Sitting in the radio studio and reading a script that we kind of collaboratively wrote, and it's the kind of stuff I do for fun. Yeah. And I'm like, how am I getting paid to do this? And how can I keep getting paid to do this?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have that talent. So hopefully we can find some more gigs for you in that way, so you can write and either talk or act. But it's fun when I can text you really quickly. It's like, hey James, I need you to come and walk in a bank for me.
I drop everything. I'm like, yes, please.
Or you need to sit and be in a dental chair. So that's a lot of fun. So just to wrap up here, what have you learned at 80/20 that you're going to use for the rest of your life?
I think the big thing is learning how to communicate and work with others. Especially as a freelancer where I'm doing a lot of work from home, trying to figure out, okay, I've done this much of the project, but I've hit a standstill. I need the project to keep going so I can get back to work, but I'm not at the office. How do I do that? And you'll be in a meeting, and Francoise will be in the midst of redesigning a book, and Anna will be doing some other project, and figuring out, I'm not great at communicating as a person, and so it's been a good exercise in kind of developing my talents to work on. It feels like over communicating, but it's always the right amount of communication, where it's, here's what I've done, here's what I need to do, here are the steps I need to be taken by someone else before I can do this stuff.
Right, and that's so important. I mean, and one of my common quotes is just yank my chain. I mean, literally I'll say, hey, you got to either put it on my desk in front of me or yank my chain to remind me to do something. But you do have to be a squeaky wheel sometimes, and you're not bothering people, and your respect is like, oh my gosh, this person really wants to get this done, and it's okay. So I'm giving you the go ahead here on live on this episode. Just keep bugging me, because I hate if I'm the bottleneck and slowing things down. But that's so true across the board on all jobs. I have to hound the clients for us. It's like, hey, I need this approval so we can get this going and live or on air or whatever.
And I struggled with it at first. I mean, I remember specifically one time you had to redo one of my projects, and so we had to cut the hours off my timesheet. And then you said something along the lines of, like, I can't tell if you're not finishing projects or if they're getting, I can't tell if you're spinning your wheels or if they're getting lost in the black hole of the internet. And that was a real wake-up call, because I was like, man, I really need to be more communicative and ask for help more and be more of a squeaky wheel. Yeah. Because, we're all in this together. All of our work is a reflection of all of us, and it's with all of our great, like the Gen Z book and stuff like that. It was a complete team effort, and you can't be the one who drops the ball.
Right. Gen Z was great. Let's talk about that just really quick. So you were very instrumental. Do you remember way back when we just had the spreadsheet, and you did almost, I would almost say 80 or 90% of the sentences and definitions and whatnot for all those Gen Z
terms. With no intention for the book to come out of it. You assigned me it was a blog, and it was like Gen Z words and definitions, and I was reading and going, this still doesn't make any sense. I'm going to add sentences. And so I threw some sentences in and gave it to you, and you took it and ran with it.
And then next thing you know, I had to do a presentation. I said, what can I do to really add value and have a giveaway? I'm like, I'm going to give them a Gen Z dictionary. And next thing you know, we're now hopefully producing a book. So it's really fun. What did you learn from that experience?
What did I learn? to trust my creative instincts. I think that was very validating to turn in something that wasn't quite what you asked for, but I thought was a better version of what you asked for than just doing what you said verbatim. And you responded very positively, and you were like, "This is really good work. Do stuff like this." And that was kind of the first time that I felt like I not went off script, but used my own judgment and stopped, I'm an adult member of this workplace, you're trusting me to do the work. And that was one of the first times where I was like, I have an idea on how to do this job better.
Yeah, great. And I loved it. It was so stinking funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then humor came across.
Thank you. And it's like, it's two-sided, because there are times where I've tried that and I've given something to you and you've been like, and I'm like, all right. And so I take it back and I fix it and give it back to you. But I think not being afraid to try something, because the worst that happens is you say no, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I get no too. So
yeah.
I mean, it's part of our world, and it takes a while to have thick skin, and it's like you just got to be able to let it go.
I think learning to trust myself, it also helped make the other projects better, because especially at first I was pretty hesitant to, your slogan is figure it out, and I was very hesitant to try to figure it out, because I was like, well, Kelly has more experience than me, Francoise has more experience with this thing than me. What if I do it wrong? What if I don't know how to do it and it takes too long and it's not what the client wants? But as the more I've worked here, the more I've been like, oh, you're giving me projects because you want me to do them, so you don't have to do them.
Yeah, go crazy.
Yeah, and it's been a good, kind of coming into my own as an adult, I suppose, learning how to take responsibility and see something through to the end and do what I think works.
Awesome, yeah. So I'm glad you feel more confident to do your thing and give your input and stand up and say, no, I think this can be better, so I encourage you to do that.
And there are still times where I'd spent like an hour and a half last week trying to figure out how to put a code on the website. I was like, man, I really guess I don't know how to do this. And then I came to you and was like, I don't know how to do this. And we figured it out through someone else, but, trying to figure things out on my own and being a member of this team by helping clear other people's plates, because we have a lot of clients and a lot of stuff to do. That was an important moment for me.
Good. Well, thanks. How did you like doing this?
Oh, this was fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you like talking?
I love talking all the time, and I just got paid to talk.
Just got paid to talk, right? Awesome. Well, thanks, James, and look forward to doing more fun creative projects with you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for doing this.
This is a wrap.